Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 9 of Rise Up the podcast. Fellas, we got a great episode coming in store. We got 2 special guests. We got Captain America, Tommy Schreiber, and we have Sarah Griffin, a writer from the PLL, coming in to make some special picks with us. Fellas, before we get into this recap, tell me about your weekends. Happy Labor Day.
Labor Day, brother. I'm good. I I don't like to disclose what I do on the weekend, so it was very calm, very tame. Good. I behaved.
Yeah. Good boy. It's a good boy. Who's a good boy? I had a good weekend, man. I had a good weekend. I got to watch some of this PL action, and obviously went well for me, wins and loss wise. So up for another strong weekend. Here we go.
I mean, I had a great weekend as well. I was in Nantucket with producer Danny Healy, introducing my parents. I said, "Hey, this is the boss right here." We had a good time. Had some drinks at Cisco. Came back Monday. Went to the U.S. Open, and I'll tell you what. To believe it or not, the drinks at Cisco on Nantucket are cheaper than the ones at the U.S. Open. Holy shit! What a robbery!
Which is all in all, your weekend was probably my rent. So good job.
Well, fortunately, my parents rented the house for this weekend, last weekend. So I was living.
The tab was picked up. Tab was picked up by Papa.
Oh yeah,
the tab was picked up by Papa Seeds.
Exactly.
Good for you.
Got hooked up. Yeah, my parents said we're renting a house for a week in August. You want to come? I go, you bet your ass I'm going to come. Book the flight in May. Then I'm counting down the days.
It's a wrap.
But yeah, fellas, what a weekend opening playoffs. Holy shit. Let's get into it right away. I mean, the first game I want to talk about is the Chaos versus the Chrome. I mean, did anyone see this coming besides maybe Blaze? He tried to tell us.
Dude,
I mean, you said they were going to win. You didn't say like that. You didn't say they were going to win like that.
You know what? I'm a sore winner too. I had Blaze the whole time. You guys know I've been riding with him all year. I literally been saying Blaze is going to come through. He's going to come through. We're going to come through. I'm telling you, dude, they sandbagged.
The very first episode of this podcast, we all sat there at All-Star break going, they're going to make a run. And then in the playoffs, they're going to make a run again. And then what did we do, Sibes, last week? We're like, we're going Chrome. And I didn't feel good about it. I know you felt good about it, but you can see behind your eyes, you're like, I'm kind of scared about this. There's a lot of pain behind those eyes.
Sibes, what do you think? I mean, 2 goals, right? It was 2-goal output. I mean, the Chaos defense definitely did a better job. Obviously, Blaze solidifying the back end there was big.
It was big. Scary as hell.
It was big, but I think Troy Ray played well. Jack Rowlett, obviously, I DM'd him after the game. He wrote back, "Who was dodging me again?" And then he wrote back. I said, "Okay." So there's a little shit to all of them.
Blaze was 83%.
Right.
Holy shit! On the face-offs, they did a good job as a unit. I think they won 3 more face-offs in the Chrome, which is incredible. They used CJ Costabile both on the wing and on face-offs. And like wherever we're sitting there, Scotty, I was like, man, crystal ball. I wish I could find out what the game plan is here. And dude, they executed. Is this a record, by the way? Is this the lowest goal scored in a PLL game?
Dude, I honestly think it might be.
Dude, 83%. Holy
12
shit.
saves, right? 12 saves, 2 goals against. He was on. Body saves. I don't like to, I'm not going to break down the goalie stuff, but as a goalie, watching him play is very similar to a style that I know. It ain't pretty, but guess what? It keeps the ball at the net, and they feed off him, bro. Like, they feed off him, and they go, you could tell every time he makes a big save in tight. I think he made a combo save on Malloy, where Malloy shot it, got a rebound, then he stuffed him again. Those, like, momentum saves add up, and those, like, turn into goals. So,
yeah.
You know how those go.
Dude, O'Keefe's first shot to start the scoring was like, oh my God. Dude, I don't know if I like anything as much as I enjoy watching Mac O'Keefe shoot a lacrosse ball.
Yeah, it's
Josh Byrne had 6 points. Blaze was incredible. The defense played incredible. Let's not lose sight of that performance by Byrne, 3-3.
Well, listen, him being the quarterback and actually giving goals too is what they need in the playoffs. I mean, that him combined with little Mac O'Keefe sprinkling, Dane Smith kind of feeding from up top. And then listen, man, they have so many options, dude. When they turn it on, like we've been waiting for like that Sixes Canadian team to kind of just show what they do. It just looked like it hit. I think that
they're so comfortable out there, and they were doing what we said you have to fear, right?
Yeah.
They score the first goal from O'Keefe, and they're smiling in the huddle. You're like, oh no.
Yeah.
And like I said, this is a team that is completely used to winning 30% of the draws. So when they're winning 50 or more, it's almost a wrap. Yeah. It's a complete wrap.
Yeah. Well, we talk about the X factors. That's it, right?
Well, I still like you said, Scotty, Blaze, hats off, 83%. But the whole defensive performance as a whole, right? This Chrome offense is no slouch. We've been gassing them up all year. They have potential MVP and Rookie of the Year candidate at attack, and then 2 Rookie of the Year candidates at attack. And, Dylan Malloy, who's 5 years removed from a Toraton, maybe less. Yep. So, I mean, this offense is no slouch, and 3 goals. I don't know. We'll have to get Keegs on the horn to check the records. But 3 goals, I mean.
3 goals. Yeah, the one at the end. Yeah, I remember now. My bad, yeah.
It's just they couldn't do anything to get their offense going, and then they start pressing, and then that's when, the Chaos were just like they just constricted on them, and then just no life. And I'm really curious to see if they can keep it going.
Well, here's the thing. I got one thing. We talked about rookies, right? You keep saying rookie and rookie, right? We kept talking about that experience all last week. Maybe that would be the Chaos kind of said it in the post game. We were ready for that. We've been here. Listen, 2-8, whatever it is. They weren't really fit. The record the whole regular season. We probably thought more so it weighed on them more than maybe it did on even them. I don't even think they worried about the 2 wins. I think they were just pissed that they didn't play well.
I think. Remember, we spoke about a lot of Team Canada men are on the squad. And I've told you, like, when they play international, man, when they come out there with that edge, you have, like, group play, and then you have the tournament. And this team's used to showing up in the tournament, jawing you the whole time, getting in your face, big moments, whatever. It was very obvious from the very moment that one team is used to playoff ball and the other wasn't. And
I thought there was going to be a fight. I thought there was going to be a fight after Chase Frazier put that BTD in. And I thought Manley was going to come in and just clock him. I was hoping just for the drama specific. But like I said, those guys, when they win, they let you know they're winning, right? But they've been on the back end of that all season, getting their tails kicked in. So they should. Right now, I honestly think I'm excited to see what they do. I think this matchup this week is even going to be more awesome.
These semifinals are going to be unbelievable.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we'll get into our picks later on the show. And we have a special guest, Sarah Griffin, helping us out with these picks. But before we move on to the next recap, hats off to the Chrome in this season, right? They had a huge turnaround. They have such a bright future. They shouldn't be discouraged about the way that they went out. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing those young guys keep getting better and taking a step off this year and using it as a learning experience moving forward.
Yeah, I think, 12 goals against, right? 12 goals against in that league you should be in every game. So, they ran into a little bit of a stalwart defense, a hot goalie, and the faceoffs weren't there. So those X factors also kick into possessions. Possessions lead the goals. You guys know how that goes.
Absolutely. And let's move on to our next game. We have Archers 13, Redwoods 8. We're going to kick this one to Greg. He was riding with his Woods. Greg, what happened to your Dogs in this one?
Turnovers, man. There was a lot of just uncharacteristic throwing the ball away. And against an Archers offense like that, who was also, last time these two teams played face-off wise, I think TD won like the first 9 or 10 face-offs. Yeah. This time around, the Redwoods only had 5 more face-off wins. And when you're throwing the ball away, it kind of completely negates those. So, and there were face-off wins where the Archers would steal it back. So it almost was an even game at the stripe, which is really where we thought the Redwoods might have some kind of advantage with Anasio never playing in the playoffs before. Anasio was more improved. Grant Hossack was awesome.
Yep.
Between the lines, they were devastating, and they were super dialed in on offense. So yeah, that was really. I mean, the turnovers, I believe, were the difference maker in this one.
You gotta look at Marcus and Will, right? You gotta say good for them. I mean, obviously those are my guys, but Just seeing those
And
guys.
Ratliff, yeah.
I hate watching them win because I used to play against them when they win. They're actually a lot more annoying when they're up and when they're losing, because those guys, they're freaking celebrating every goal. I mean, they are having fun. Just like the chaos, man. That's why that matchup this week's awesome. Just because those guys are good. Both teams celebrate those goals, man. It's going to be fireworks, I think. But like we said, the Redwoods. Listen, man, that's a great little run they went on towards the end of the season. But also think about when things get tough there. And Matt St. Laurent said this after the game. A lot of forced plays, a lot of chefs trying to make moves. I would listen. Great players want to make plays at the end of the game, especially when you need them. But they might have too many individual great players that wanted to make a play. That could have been done just moving the ball. The Archers are moving the ball, sharing it. They don't care who puts the ball anywhere. And that team, I'm not saying there's ego everywhere, but listen, Robbie P is going to do what Rob's done his whole career, which is take over if he can. Then you got Miles, who wants to do what he's done his whole career, take over if he can. Then you got Ryder, who's a ISO Dodger, who's going to do it if he can. So basically, it just turns into one-on-ones all over the field.
They just couldn't get in a rhythm, man, because they just kept throwing the ball away. My MVP of this game is Latrell Harris.
Oh, dude, that was a sick play.
The ball was on the ground all over the place. He scooped it up. He had transition. He scored. I mean, he was awesome, and I really think he was the key in this matchup. I think. Go ahead, Scott. If you could play this over again, if you're the Redwoods, you're like, dude, if we could just catch and throw early in the game, we would have been okay. I mean, the rest of the way, it was an even game. That first quarter, 7-3 Archers, that's what really hurt them because they were just throwing the ball over the damn place.
So I'd give it to that unit, right? Because I played with Dominique in Ohio for 5 years. That's a big D-Mitty, physical D-Mitty. He meets – when we used to play Perkovic back in the day, our game plan was Dominique go out there and hit him with a cross-check and be physical because you're the same size. He's not going to bulldog you. Miles, same thing. Dominique's 6'2", 225 pounds. And then Latrell's adds that athleticism. Their whole D-Mitty LSM unit kind of, I think, was the X factor towards that game because that matchup was in their favor.
We'd be remiss not to shout out Connor Fields, who seemed to be stringing together his best lacrosse towards the end of the season. Last week or 2 weeks ago, it started with him going to the net and getting his. This week he was 2-5. He's showing that he can dish it as well, get other people involved. Him playing his best lacrosse towards the end of the season is great news for the Archers.
And who's he playing this week? His old team. And then when he plays his old team, playing off the confidence he has, it could be fireworks, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I couldn't agree more. I love those little storylines where when people go from one team to the other. And yeah, there's definitely a little bit of bad taste in their mouth, and they want to stick it to them a little bit, right?
100%. Dude.
Yeah, of course. 100%. Of course.
The last game we have to wrap up for our week recap was the fireworks show of the weekend. Water Dogs pumped in 19. Atlas, no slouch, had 14, but Water Dogs offense just too much for this Atlas defense to handle.
It wasn't as close as that, though, right?
Five goals isn't even that close, right?
Right, and it wasn't even that close. It didn't feel like. So, like I said, I love
had 7. The Atlas had half their goals in the fourth quarter.
Right. And listen, I love and I saw Tuck after the game. You can see when Tuck's pissed off. He wasn't happy with the unit performance, I'm sure, on defense and the slides and whatnot. But, listen, Jack was under a lot of duress. Those guys were getting in tight looks. I mean, Sowers is inside rolled on the crease. I'm not making excuses for him, but Jack had a great year. I'm not going to sit here and slash that. He was MVP caliber all year. But to ask him to hold the dam all year, goalies runs. So, like, Blaze coming in now, Blaze didn't play his best during the season. And now he's playing his best in the playoffs. Now, so you almost want to see which one weighs more, right? Which one weighs more? Do you want to be the guy that crushes it during the regular season? Now we get to see Burnloy this week, who had a great, stellar regular season. Does a bye hurt? Does a bye hurt that momentum? Does it hurt that kind of confidence? Blaze is definitely running the hottest. Jack, no slouch, man. Like I said, I just think he ran into an offense that is sharing the ball. They don't care who scores. McCardle, once again, you two are the oracles there. You guys, I haven't given him enough credit all season. He's been phenomenal. I mean, he's the reason why, because Brownie's out. And I actually think Brownie's a great player, and I think he's the best shooter in the world. But almost back to that Grant Ament comparison, they are sharing the ball more because Brownie's a ball dominant player sometimes, right? So sometimes he needs the ball. He needs touches. He needs flow. He needs rhythm. He needs shots, volume. They don't need that right now because they have guys that are just touching it and moving it. So it just looks like it just looks fluid.
Greg, we got to throw this to you because you got to break down the face-off matchup on this one, right? I mean, if you told the Atlas before the game that they were going to go sub 50, right? No one would believe that.
This is actually a 2023 World Games matchup, Team USA versus Canada here, and obviously Trevor and Jake I know very well. I coached both of them, and they both work for FOA. And
plug.
No free ads.
Plug shit.
Plug no free ads.
Best goddamn face-off training company in the world. Now, those two are world class, and Trevor, who has been 70% the whole year. And this is why I give Trevor Baptiste so much credit. From the time he was a freshman in college, he has been the best face-off man in college every year. And now he's the best face-off man in the pros every year and international play. Every day since he got on the field in 2019 or 2017.
Was college, or 15 was college, right?
15, yes, you're right.
I feel like he's been around forever. It's not even been that long.
I know. So 2015, he has gotten every single person he's played best game. They circled on the calendar. Every person on earth circles that game on the calendar. And he has delivered every freaking day since that moment. And this is what it's like to be the guy. Everyone wants to be the guy. So Jake Withers, who is top 10 in the entire world face-off-wise, he altered his game plan. Zach Currier seemed to have stuck to the plan. Currier's stats reflect that. Jake was great at pulling his rake and then going right into a transitional counter. I feel like Trevor was a little stubborn about staying on a knee and trying to do his thing. And Jake kind of just brought him into his level to make him play his game. And I think you saw the Water Dogs' confidence rise as the game continued and they started getting their success. But here's the thing, right? It's like I said, the reason I thought that Withers was going to have a better game this time around is because, or at least it was going to be an important part of this game, is because when Withers wins faceoffs, it almost creates transition just because of the people they have on the wings, right? You have Currier, you have Reese. Those guys are absolute studs. And I mean, look at Currier's stat line. Currier he 4 points, 2 goals, 2 assists. He had 8 ground balls and a caused turnover. 8 ground balls. He actually had, he had more ground balls than Withers did.
Yeah.
Okay. Which means that Withers, this is egoless faceoffs. So people don't understand, like, he could have sat there and just tried to clamp over and over again like an idiot and got crushed. Yep. Instead, he changed his moves and he allowed his wings to scoop the ground balls. That's awesome. That's awesome.
They basically knew, if it's a wash at the X, then what's our win? It's the wings. And they had better wings. They had better wing play. I mean, they have Currier. Like, Currier is going to be the X factor in any game if you can make it a ground ball situation, I think. Yeah. And I think that's kind of the recipe they have to move going forward, right? He's going to play against Withers is going to get Nards, right? And they're both kind of scrappers, correct?
Well, Withers. So first off, this is the first. Trevor still went 50%. That's why he's so great.
That's what
right?
We're talking like he won 40%. Right?
Withers is getting a gold medal, from us right now. But he was like 53%. This is the first person to go over 50% against Trevor in over a year. Okay, that's a big deal. But next weekend he has a very different, like you said, Nardell is more of a athletic, just scrappy, grind it out all over the place person. When you watch him play, it's just, he'll stand up against Withers. I actually think that Joe's stand-up face-off technique has come such a long way, but he still tweaks it every single week, so you can't really tell where it's at. The only way, I think, the last time they played, Nardella had his way with Withers too. I feel like the only way they take that away is by locking off Nardella's wing and having him sprint straight in behind Nardella.
In your defense, in that defense, I think the only team that can match wing play with the Water Dogs is the Whipsnakes. With the 100%. Length of Earhart, of Earhart, you got Bernhardt, there's guys out there that could athlete with Currier.
Those wings have been the best wings in the PLL since its inception, year in and year out. And
It's a good matchup.
the Chrome have had, like Joel White on the wings, and then Courier came in the league, and now, but yeah, I totally agree with you. It's going to be a chess match. Who can put their wings in the best position to take away whatever the other guy's better at? So it's going to be cool to watch. But getting back to this game, I think, this is the issue you have, right? And I actually remember Joe Spallino used to talk about this with the Lizards. From 2011 to 2017, we led the league in faceoff percentage every year. But when we didn't have a 70% game, we almost lost every single time. Because when you're so used to getting the ball 2/3 of the time or more, it's almost like your offense kind of freaks out a little bit when they're not getting the ball that often. They got the ball half the time.
Well, we did it. I think we went 50% against you that one time when we ran it up. Was that one time in Hempstead when the machine came into town. And I remember that, guys, because you guys were like so freaking pissed. I think it was the one time you still went 60%, and we thought Pastuljan did all right, but we actually just had Karolounis kind of lock off a little bit more, and Karolounis was kind of our X factor to help.
That's my point. Point is that game I'm in like the low 60s, but that whole season we were in the 70s. Yeah, that's like 8 less possessions, right? Yeah. So that's just something to remember here. But I think the Water Dogs are doing what the Chaos have always done. They're peaking at the right time. That offense is so confident. They're slinging the ball around. They know exactly what they're doing. And Courier, I thought about this the other day. I was talking to Matt Madelon on the phone about just recruits. I was like, holy shit, the 2 best middies in the world are Princeton grads.
Yep.
That's pretty cool for them.
That's freaking, and they do it all. It's not like an offensive midi. They do it all. I saw Tommy plays D too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a good point too. And when we look at the other teams in this league, right, we always call out, certain studs that want the ball on their stick. I would argue that this Water Dogs team plays the most positionless lacrosse on the offensive side of the field, right?
Maybe other than
the Chaos, but they have guys that are so multifaceted, right? They have guys that can get downhill left to right. They have guys that can dodge from the corners of the field, from the numbers, from behind, and they can dissect you from so many different parts of the field. And they all have two-handed players. No one's like, one-hand dominant shooters. They all can kind of get to the cage. And I think, their offense was just on full force. Ryan Conrad, I think, led their team in points this weekend, and he's been playing two-way midi for most of this year.
Ryan Conrad used to play for the Atlas, though, so that was a nice little stick-it-to-him game. And then there's a little extra juice there. Listen, I'm Brian Costabile's my guy, like a lot of guys in this league, but I love Brian. I think they got to find a better role to get him injected. I don't think he's 0-1, I think it was. And he's not that kind of player. He needs to be the initiator. He needs to dodge downhill. He needs to do like the Mikey Schlosser of the Water Dogs, where sometimes I was like kind of sitting there going, Brian's a lot better than – he's not like just a third midi, dude. He's the guy. Wherever you should go, he's the guy. Imagine the Chaos had a guy like Costabile. Imagine like a team that needs a Dodger, the Chrome. Imagine these teams had a Costabile, and like they had the talent. So my defense, I'm not going to sit here and knock the Atlas because I'm not that guy. But I just don't know if that was the right – they have Teat. We've been talking about him all season. They got Gray. They got E-Law. There's a lot of talent on that offense. And for them to be kind of these little lulls they go through, like Tucker said, all season we have these lulls. They shouldn't have those lulls.
I agree. And they have also studs that they have Jake Caraway, who went off last year, didn't really see much time this year. I would have loved to see them try to get him involved more from the midfield. They have Bukhara running out of the box, who's a certified stud, and he's just like Costabile. Couldn't really seem to get in a rhythm this year. So they definitely have, some building to do going forward, but a great season by the Atlas. Yeah. And guys, we're coming up on time. Any last thoughts on this game or about the quarterfinal weekends as a whole?
No, I'm actually kind of excited. I'm trying not to preview because I'm getting so excited about previewing.
Yeah, Scotty's so amped up that he was over 50% this weekend that.
Well, you know what?
Why are you wearing a hat, Sibes? Why are you wearing a hat?
He's allowed because I went last week.
Bad hair day.
Hey, tough day at the Open. Yeah. But you listen. It's not that I went 2-1. I like picking underdogs, and I like that it was a good. I actually thought I thought the Atlas was a lock. The Water Dogs actually surprised me. I was really like, whoa. That was a freaking.
Well, the best part about it is Sibes got his only win of the weekend because he's like, I'll pick the Water Dogs.
Yeah.
I was hoping that wasn't brought up. But we'll definitely get into those picks for next week. But that's a wrap on the quarterfinal weekend. We have the semifinals coming up next weekend in DC. But before we get there, we're going to throw it over to our interview with Tom Schreiber, Captain America. We're pumped to have this guy on. I mean, what a lacrosse player he is and the accomplishments he's had on the field and in the box. So welcome to the podcast, Tommy Schreibs. Scotty's already got the giggles, but welcome to the podcast, Tom Schreiber, whose Archers team just came off a huge playoff win in the quarterfinals. Thanks for joining, Tom. We're happy to have you on.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys having me. I'm very excited. Good to see you, Greg. Good to see you, Scotty.
You too,
Danny, good to see you as well. This is going to be fun. Scott, it's quite the chain.
Yeah, I was just about to talk about
Scotty,
how he's.
Tommy, what I want you to do first is I want you to break down for the viewers Scotty's outfit and what you think.
Yeah, it's a little loud. Like I feel like Scott tries to act like this is his normal style.
I'm Dennis Rodman. I'm Dennis Rodman of media. What are you doing,
Scott? Usually, you should let the guest speak and not talk over your co-host. But I think we'll get through it. But Scott, the outfit it's a 5 out of 10. It looks like you're really trying.
You look like you came out of an Abercrombie and Fitch magazine. You keep your mouth shut, okay?
Yeah, well,
I would take that as a compliment.
That's my follow-up. As a new father, you look like you have gotten plenty of sleep. Is that true?
I appreciate that. She's made our life pretty easy. The last couple nights have actually been some of her worst. Unfortunately, she's got some new teeth coming in up top. So
that's
a couple nights, which is hard. But I'm well rested enough. I just feel bad for her. I want those teeth to pop through so she's good to go. But she's fighting through it. She's doing well, and I'm well rested. It hasn't been too bad. Man. Fingers crossed.
It's definitely great to know she has some of that LI toughness in her because her father lost some of that. But it's good to see that. And like I said, Tommy, all kidding aside, you're one of my favorite people in the world, one of my favorite teammates, no booch, one of my good friends. Obviously, it's based on a lot of talking shit to each other, but that's our relationship. Just talk to us about this season in all seriousness. Like, it's been so impressive to watch you do your thing. Obviously, being your teammate at the Machine, having that championship under your belt. Do you think that kind of veteran leadership in that locker room with the Archers, and playing with Dominique and some of the guys, Marcus, having some of those wins, big game wins under their belt, does that help going into this run here?
Yeah, maybe. I hope so. It's definitely cool playing with some of those guys that we won with back with the Machine. So guys like Dominique Alexander, Marcus Holman, like you had mentioned. Matt McMahon was another guy who was a part of those teams, and to kind of have that consistency for my entire pro career at this point has been awesome. And Nick is somebody that I've known since like 6th grade, so it's been really cool to go through it with him. And Marcus and I have been really tight for quite some time, and Matt and I are good friends too. So I think that probably helps, but at the same time, like, these games could go either way. Everybody's awesome. But having that kind of, core group together, really, those couple guys with the Machine, but for the Archers too, I think, Coach broke it down at the beginning of the year. I think it's like almost an exact number. It's 1/3 guys who have been with the team since the very beginning, 1/3 guys who have been with the team for a year or two, and 1/3 brand new. So that's been a cool mix. It's been cool to see kind of the initial culture kind of evolve and grow with some of these new dudes, and also kind of keep that initial kind of feel to it too. So hopefully it serves us well. As you guys know, like, these games could go either way, and we're just excited to play in them.
Yeah, I mean, you tell me, but viewing, it looks like this is the first time you guys as a whole are completely healthy and all very comfortable with what you're doing. You guys all seem on the same page, and you seem healthy. Is that correct right now?
Yeah, we feel pretty good. I think every team deals with something in the beginning of the year, whether it's the NLL guys or a couple guys banged up. In our case, Grant Ament's a big part of our offense. Missed the first part of the season. Connor Fields missed the first part of the season, and the guys that stepped in for them did an amazing job. And I think we did well despite missing guys like that. But both of those dudes are top notch guys. So, to have them all in the lineup, to be nice and comfortable, to get, Matt Moore, this is the time of year where it's like, you're almost not even a rookie anymore, right? You've played 10 games and he's really comfortable. So on the offensive side of the ball, we feel like we're in a pretty good spot. And everybody's healthy, and, we just need to go out there and execute and get better. Yeah, that's the name of the game.
Yeah, Tommy, last game, I feel like that was the perfect storm. Seeing the offense look the best. You guys obviously have the best. I think when you guys play like you played last week, it's unbelievable to watch because everyone's on point. But do you think having Connor and Trey, giving that kind of output, taking a little stress off you, does that kind of help with letting you play your game more comfortably, more free?
I think, right now everybody can play their game comfortably and free. And it's hard to, if I had the perfect answer as to what to attribute that to, we'd do it every single week. Every team would. But that's the name of the game in the PLL. Like, you look at any roster, you're pretty blown away. Like, if you look at the top 6 on every roster, it's like, I can't believe those guys all play together. And that's from top to bottom. And I think the teams that can figure that out, the Whip Snakes, those guys certainly have with the championships they've had. And last year, the Chaos. If you look at the way those guys played down the stretch and the way they played together, at least on the offensive side of the ball, obviously the same goes for defense. And then, with you guys with the specialties, like, you have guys who can really step up in the goal and step up at the X. Like, that's the formula. And, we just want to have all those pieces kind of work together. And I think we're in a pretty good spot, and, hopefully we're still peaking. So we'll see.
Yeah, speaking of that, what do you think is going to be the key this weekend against this particular opponent that always seems to just like crescendo at the end of the season?
Yeah, no, I mean, those guys deserve credit for being able to do that. And, I think that's like every team, they're loaded, and they have so many different weapons on every side of the ball. And, Blaze is an X factor in the net. We know that. You have to expect it, right? Like, he's going to steal some. And it's about not getting too frustrated. And it's, they have great, top 3 players at, every position. And, we have to play a really good game, and I know that's like, sounds really simple, but come playoff time, like, you can't afford to beat yourself, especially against a team like that. So we want to minimize, those errors that you can fully control, like a mental lapse on the clear, or like an unforced turnover, or, an ill-advised slide. I think that the more you can kind of control those controllables, then, your margin of error is, a little bit better, and you can just kind of go out there and play. But that's a tough team, right? And they do peak at the right time. They're coming off a big win. So we're expecting a battle. We're expecting a 1-goal game. And that's the name of the game at this point. So
how do you approach shooting and playing offense against playoff Blaze?
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was just going there.
Yeah, I took it right out.
You got any tips?
What's the key to beating playoff Blaze?
I honestly think, man, I think you guys, when you stretch the field, if you can hit those like 10 to 12s, right, you kind of loosen up the wings when you got Will and Holman shooting like they do, catch and shoot. It's a lot stressful playing you guys. I remember when you guys hung about 26 on the Archers my last season. It was 26, I believe. I was in there for about 14, and Jack was in there for about 12. And there was just shots from everywhere because of the stress you put on when you're shooting the ball well. Now, like you said, as a goalie, our rule of thumb is get the first save and stay hot. So an ill-advised shot in the beginning of the game, a 15-yard frustration shot to Blaze, that confidence for me, I know, used to be that's how you get going. So that's how I think about it. I know you're really not asking for my tips because you're Captain America. So wise ass.
I literally asked. Scott.
Yeah, okay.
So, but I mean, you nailed it. It's like you can't. All you can do is you can't give him the easy ones, right? You can't take an off balance shot from deep that he's just going to gobble up. And the part of his game, that I think most people are aware of is not only does he stop the ball, but he gets it out quick. And those guys can run in transition, right? They have threats in transition. That the worst thing you could do is take a bad shot. They go the other way, can it too. Not only is it a couple goal swing, it's just such a big momentum play in the pro game. So we want to limit that, and he's going to gobble some up, and he's going to make some saves that he shouldn't, that he has no business making. But we have to expect that, and we can't give him the easy ones. I think that's really all you can do against a guy like that. And then obviously you want to take shots from dangerous positions, high percentage shots. And again, we'll steal a few, but the more we can get from those kind of dangerous areas, that's what we hope to do.
Yeah, Tommy, I think. Go ahead, Tommy.
Yeah, I think a point though that our listeners might not be as aware of is that in the college game, coaches will stress like take high percentage shots, especially. It's more important against a great goalie because you don't want him getting that hot hand. You want that first one going. You don't want the goalie to get his confidence going. But in the pro game with the 53-second shot clock, or 52 seconds, and especially with your offense, you want kind of everyone to get a touch. You want the ball to start spinning. Do you guys feel that stress of a shortened shot clock, especially going against such a high quality goaltender?
I don't know if it's stress. I think it's more of an awareness, right? I think at this point of the year, you kind of have to have the composure as to when to, are you going to take a low percentage fadeaway shot from, 11 yards with 3 seconds on the clock, or are you going to dump it in the corner and get your defensive personnel on and play 6-on-6 and live to fight another day?
There's that Princeton IQ. There it is.
I mean, I think it's just like the better teams, again, they don't give up those easy looks, right? And a team like the Chaos, especially playing at such a high level right now, like they'll make you pay. So it's having that composure, it's making the right decisions, and it's easy to say now on during the week, but in the heat of the battle, you find yourself kind of making that decision. So I think it's about knowing when to attack, knowing when to get to those spots, and playing quickly and moving that ball fast. And, if you get your good looks, take them, and, knowing when to kind of, dump that ball in the corner and live for the next possession, I think will be pretty key really for all the teams. I don't think that's unique to playing against the Chaos or unique for our team, but I think at this point you kind of have to pick your spots.
Tommy, let me pivot a little bit here. Going into this summer, right? We're going into national team mode, right? Are you looking forward to that? That's something I call you Captain America because I believe it. I think between you and Tucker Durkin, you guys could be superheroes in a damn Avengers movie. But you guys have been there for a minute. Is that something you're looking forward to, another run? And being a vet now, is that something leadership wise you're looking to maybe tweak or maybe take another step in the right direction as far as a captain or leader on that team?
Yeah, I mean, as you guys know, like it's a long process to be a part of those teams, and I don't know how many guys are in the mix right now. I think it's around 50, and I know we have 2 events scheduled for the fall, and it's hard to think about that because it's just like playoff time in the PLL, but it's in the back of your mind, and in going through it and being teammates with Greg the last time around, it's there's nothing like that. There's nothing like competing with USA on your chest, and being part of that team and being part of a pretty long process, and to kind of just compete at that level at that stage is special. So it's certainly something I want to do again. It's certainly something that I'm passionate about and excited to kind of take that next step with that team. And you do look even at the tryout pool. I'm not sure of the exact number, but it's like maybe 6 or 7 guys even in the tryout pool from the last team, because it was kind of an older group, and it was 5 years ago now because of the COVID year. So it's there's been a lot of turnover. So there's not a ton of guys who were part of that. So I kind of find myself as like one of the older guys, or like one of the more experienced guys, and that's been cool. And I feel fresh. I don't feel old or anything like that, but I think I have some wisdom at this point, and have gone through it. So it's, and Coach Stanowski and the rest of that staff, like it's all about the team. It's like we were talking about with the PLL. It's like you could take an all-star team or you could take the best group of guys, and that coaching staff are certainly trying to do that. And I want to advance that in any way that I can, through experience on the field, off the field. If I can be an asset toward that culture in any way, like that's what I'm trying to pull off. And excited to get out there for sure. Got some work to do before that. Hopefully, with a nice ending here in the PLL, and then kind of cruise right into that mode. So that would be perfect world for me.
That would be very lovely. That would be great. Do you also? I want to get your. What do you think of the new trophy?
It's cool. It's I've seen it in person, and it's as advertised. Like
how big is it, Tom? I can't tell if you
didn't touch it. I hope you didn't touch it, right?
No, I know not to do that, but I did see it. You're like scared to be around it. It's so nice because it's like I don't want to break it.
I can't tell.
I don't trust the chaos with that trophy either. To be completely honest with you, I think that thing gets shattered into 10 pieces.
Yeah, but it's big. Like it's like the other ones, and it's really cool.
Tommy, remember the weight of that MLL
the Steinfeld Cup?
That thing was like, I remember putting that thing up in the locker room. I was like, I think I did a military press.
Dude, shocking.
That thing was cool. And Scott, like if you like use your legs a little bit, like
that was funny. That was fucking
to lift that
this
thing
is
up.
Good advice, Scott.
You were having such a good interview, and then he had to do it. He's such a dickhead.
Scott, this is good. You know what? You should write this down. You shouldn't be upset. This is free information.
I put my shoes on every day. I do legs.
Where do you go, Tom? Now he's pouting.
Damn it, Tom.
Tommy, what this is my last question. What do you think that your guys' game, going back to the playoffs, what do you think that you guys can do as like what are you best at that you can kind of either exploit or use this weekend to get an edge?
Well, don't tell us that, Tom. Obviously, I know Tom.
No. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you guys? What do you think that you do best as a team that helps you get over this hump to get to the championship?
Yeah, I mean, if there was some like secret formula or something like that, I think we would do it every week. And I don't have like some amazing answer here, but it's come playoff time, like you can't beat yourselves, like which we kind of covered before. And I think we want to kind of control our attitude throughout the game, right? Like again, like you go back to the Blaze example, right? He's going to steal a few. We can't let that rattle us, or if something happens, if Josh Burns scores between his legs on us or something like that, like you can't get too low, you can't get too high. And I think it's kind of maintaining that composure in a playoff game, I think is really important. I think like having a mature group in when the stakes are at this level or is going to be important for us. And then I think I think if there's some stat out there, I think like our 6-on-6 offense and defense, we're pretty good doing that.
Yeah.
So I think we don't want to give up transition. We don't want to, again, that's a strength of theirs. And, we don't want to have those big momentum plays go their way. So I think playing our game at the end of the day, like is what we want to do, and I know that's like not the most exciting answer in the world, but
correct though.
That's what you have to do. And you can't give Blaze easy saves like we talked about before on the offensive side. That's like something that we just can't do.
I feel like that's just part of their culture. I remember in 2019 when we played them in the semis, it was like, look, we are going to lose this game 6v6. Like, and that's when they were like bomb squatting it. Everyone on their team was bombing twos, all their poles and everything. They're just like, Blaze is the fastest in the league at getting the ball out for transition. We just have to get in the hole no matter what. And we felt good about that if we could do that. So, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Hey, Tommy, talking about just touching on real quick. My last thing was last week. I just thought watching those D middies, right? Watching those guys play. Actually, that whole unit from the long stick middies to Latrell to Dominique. I think that's a good matchup, obviously, with those big middies. I always think Dominique, I just talked about it earlier. I think Dominique always played well against Serge. He likes that jam early. He likes to get physical. Is that something you think Latrell and Dominique could have some success with, being physical and having that box experience defensively? Does that help with the defensive game plan a bit?
Man, I don't know how qualified I am to talk about the defense, but I can say that I'm teammates with Latrell all year round. In Toronto, and then with the Archers, and he's an animal, and I think last game was probably his best, and he's a guy that I've seen play for years and years, and then kind of burst on the scene in the PLL, seemingly out of nowhere. And was really successful. But he's a guy that I love playing with, and he's really, really fun to watch. Like, he's just freaky athletic, makes good decisions, and makes it look really easy. I'm glad he's on our side, and Dominique's been at this, like we talked about before, since the machine days, and he hasn't lost a step at all. And Mark McNeil has done an awesome job for us as well. On the wings, his hustle plays, he makes 2 or 3 plays a game where you're just like, I don't know how many guys around the league are making that one. So you guys,
he's unreal, man.
Yeah, he really is.
He's crazy.
Yeah, our whole group is, and I think it's so important to have great shorties at this level, right? Because those are the guys that are getting dodged the most, and if you have guys who can, who can kind of hold their own on one-on-one matchups against these, stud midfielders all over the league, it helps, and then I'm coming from an O guy, so I'm not the expert on defense or anything, but I sure am glad those guys are on our side, and they're great players, but they're awesome teammates as well, and good locker room guys.
Tommy, I was thinking you don't really get all, I mean, with the national thing, the PLL, and then the NLL, like, when is the vacation for Tommy, and what does that look like? What is a Tommy Schreiber? I know you probably like to sit in a library and read a book by yourself, but what would you do if you could get some sun, you vampire?
So, Scott, for those counting, like, if this is just audio for anybody, I know some people will have the video too. Those 2 zingers got 0 laughs from the rest of us. The reading chirp, like the education chirp, like Danny didn't even look up. Like, he didn't even notice it.
I just got a work email from someone important.
You don't have to castrate me because you're bad.
The second one, I can't even remember what it is now. What was it?
We should get you checked. We should get your head checked before the playoffs. Check his head.
It was so unmemorable that I can't even remember it. It was,
dude, Tommy, when you do retire, we're having you added onto this podcast, so you can do this with Scotty every single episode. Man, I am. This is a joy to watch. This is fantastic.
But to answer your question, Scott, you don't get a ton of time off. This has actually been a pretty cool evolution for me. Like, I would complain about it. Like, and I would anybody would listen. I would be like, it's like, it's brutal. You don't get any time off. Like, you're gassed. Like, season goes into the end of September. You have 2 USA events, then you're right back. Like, it's tough. But for me now, in getting a little older and I guess maturing, I've realized, like, man, this is like what I do. Like, this is the coolest thing in the world for me. And for my it's twofold. It's like, kind of, one is like taking a break from getting on an airplane every Friday. And 2, it's like making sure your body is good. So for the second one, I've really upped, my discipline of recovery during the week. Like, I have to be super disciplined about training, recovery, diet, nutrition, whatever it is. Like, there's so many resources out there now. So I kind of just went all out on all of that. Like, I have great resources all around here to just make sure that stuff's dialed. So, the unique thing about pro lacrosse is you're not practicing during the week. So it's an opportunity to do what's best for your body. If you feel great, you get up the intensity and really push it. If you're not, you can really dial it back and get back to 100%, barring no serious injuries. Like, you can really control that. So I've taken that approach during the week to kind of preserve my body. And for me, mentally, and Greg, I'm sure you could relate to this, like, having a child and having a family, like I always appreciated it, as the kid myself, like I had
a family too.
Yeah. Like I'm saying the next step.
Not about you, Scotty.
Well, I'm not,
Fine.
well,
Scotty's not ready to procreate.
well,
We don't
I'm
know
not
if
talking
I
about your
procreated.
your
Relax.
three. Well, never mind, Scott. I'll let it go. But being on the other side of it and like having your own family like that during the week for me is like the coolest thing in the world. Like the baby, we get up at the same time. My wife like feeds her, gets her ready to go downstairs, and I'm like part of like my morning routine is upstairs or whatever, and then I come down for breakfast and she's like waiting down. The baby is like waiting as I like turn the corner every morning, and it's like the light up is the coolest thing in the
That
world.
feeling on earth, man.
You can't beat it, and I think like that's kind of helped me to realize it's like, oh, like you'll have no weekends, all this stuff, and it's like since that thought hasn't even crossed my mind. So it's like I get a lot of cool, mental, like just living the life sort of thing during the week, and I haven't felt that need like I'm missing out on anything with weekends. So I'm in a pretty good spot with that. So having those few weeks in October is like an amazing month. I'm a total sucker for the fall.
Yeah.
Fantasy football's got me. Like we got a couple of weddings to go to in October, so I'm certainly going to like enjoy that time. But come November, it's camp time at the Toronto Rock, and I'm healthy right now, thankfully, and I'm excited for October. But I'm also not complaining by any means. I'm lucky.
Awesome.
Amen, brother.
Well, Tom, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate you giving us your time. We know you don't have much of it, but go get some rest up for the big game this weekend. We're all cheering for you. We're rooting for the Archers to get over that hump and bring one home.
Yeah, I appreciate it, fellas. Thank you.
Good luck, brother.
Fellas, we have for our picks interviews, or our pick, we have special guest making them, Sarah Griffin. She, I don't want to spoil it, has the Water Dogs winning the championship, but we, all four of us, will be down at the championship in Philly, rocking our Rowback gear. Shout out to Rowback sponsoring this podcast. Make sure you use code RISEUP20 to get 20% off all of your Rowback merch. We'll be wearing our Rowback buckets, our Rowback tees. I think we might even get Scotty in a collar and one of those sweet golf shirts, but make sure you go check that out and use that code to make all your purchases.
I'll wear it to our group Top Golf session. I think we should do Top Golf the night before.
Oh,
some activities, some family fun activities. I love it. And before we get on to that, I want to shout out one more sponsor, Level Select CBD. All of your CBD needs. I know Greggy's been chewing these things. He loves them.
Yeah, boy.
Greggy, talk to the people about them, Greg.
I have a question.
Yo, anybody out there, a young dad like myself? Yo, he sends you right to REM, boy. You need that sleep, man. Get these CBD gummies.
Papa Greg, listen, I haven't been jealous in a minute until I saw Greg put 5 packs of Z's on his goddamn story. And I was like, where are my Z packs? Right? Because I need those.
I bought those. But they are a great sponsor, and I got a discount. So,
well, Danny, our producer, I'm so sorry for bitching you out because I thought he got them for free. So that's my
Make sure you use that code RISE20 to get 20% off your Level Select CBD. This CBD is formulated with premium CBD and complementary active ingredients to deliver results you can feel. Level Select produces their own premium quality CBD and can deliver the best products to you for the best prices. It's all backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee. Holy shit! They got the Z's. They got the
shit.
Caffeine ones.
Are we buying a fucking ShamWow?
Yo, that was everybody at home. That was his first take.
I just crushed it.
Sometimes quit your job, go work on the shopping network. We'll get you some ShamWow. Sell me that shit.
That's that reading comprehension from Villanova University. Come on, fellas.
Oh my God.
There were some 3-syllable words in there too. Holy shit.
That was unbelievable.
Take my money.
Let's go.
But fellas, in all seriousness, thank you to our 2 sponsors. Make sure the listeners, you go support this. We love these 2 brands. We're wearing them. We're using them. So we can attest to their quality. Shit's great. Make sure you check it out. All right, everybody, welcome back. I hope you guys enjoyed that interview with Tom Schreiber. We have a special guest with us this week to do our picks for the semifinals. We have Sarah Griffin. She's a writer for the PLL and other lacrosse publications. But Sarah, tell us a little bit more about yourself before we get this thing going. Let our listeners know who you are.
So I started writing for the league this year, but I started doing lacrosse writing a little over a year ago now because I was doing like freelance work. And then I ended up joining on with Lacrosse Flash, doing a lot of NLL stuff. And then that just kind of segued into PLL writing.
Awesome. So what are your
Great.
thoughts?
If you're listening, she's freaking legit. Okay.
Yeah. Greg told us how legit you were. And my question is, covering the NLL, was that seeing some of these guys transition? Our big talk is the chaos lately. We kind of have been like feeling like oracles because we kind of knew they were going to make a run here with the cohesiveness and that style that they all play with, but they all play together. So do you think that has something to do with this run a little bit, just coming from your experience?
Oh, 1,000%. I think there's so much that goes into how the Chaos do what they do, especially come the playoffs. Like I think Josh Byrne said the other day, like the regular season for them really doesn't matter, which sounds like insane to say. But it really is. Like they're one of those teams that just performs so well under pressure, and a lot of them do play with each other in the NLL under these high pressure situations.
I hear that, but I'm not buying it. I mean, I think they're trying to win every game in the regular season, but to see what they do in the playoffs, I mean, that game was incredible. But without further ado, let's get into our picks for this week. Our first game down at Audi Field in Washington, D.C. is the Archers versus the Chaos, who we just touched upon, who out of nowhere just broke through and throttled the Chrome. We'll let our guests start off. Ladies first. What are you seeing in this one, Sarah?
I feel like it's kind of a cardinal sin to not pick the Chaos in the playoffs, but I do have the Archers winning this one. I know I'll probably come back and end up regretting that, given the history of it all and just their playoff experience. But I do believe, maybe I'm being delusional, this is the year that the Archers get over that playoff hump, even if it is against the Chaos, who have given them so many problems in the past.
I'm kind of with you. I think I got some stake in the game. I'm friends with all those guys in the Archers. I want to see, I think this is the last rodeo for these guys. I honestly do. I think it's the last time they're together, all of them, with like Dominique, those core guys, Schreiber, Ratliff, Gittleman, Will, Holman. I think that might be the last time if this doesn't work out. So I'm kind of hoping they do, but it's hard for me to pick against my boy Blaze the way he plays in these high pressure games, especially throwing up 83%. It's just that confidence coming from a goalie. I know how it feels during my national championship run. 1 game, 2 games, 3 games, then I'm in the championship, and it kind of feels like it just rolls over. So I'm hoping, I want to see I think it's going to be a great game. I agree with you.
Yeah, it's going to be an awesome game. You have 2 teams that the offenses know each other so well, and they're both playing at their best right now. Similar to the Water Dogs. So I think face-off wise, I think it'll be pretty even. And we have 2 teams that have proven they can win when they're not winning face-offs. The offense, if I had to pick one team that has the shooters to get it by playoff Blaze, it would be the Archers team. Now, here's a question, Scott. Who is going to guard Grant Ament?
I'm going to put, it's 100% going to be Rowlett. I mean, Rowlett's, that's a matchup that he has done. Sarah knows this probably better than us. That's a matchup historically that Rowlett's done very well.
Good.
Against
Grant, here's my follow-up question then. I actually have a couple follow-ups. Who's going to then guard Connor Fields?
I honestly think they might. I honestly think they might put Luttrell or Dominique. I think they might short because of the physicality, and he rolls and leans on them, indoor style, and those guys can play. Luttrell is an indoor player, so I think Luttrell is going to be able to play defense in that box kind of style. I honestly think it's a good matchup.
Very good. Now,
anything else for me, Greg?
Who's going to play defense against Will Manny then?
We can do this up and down the whole roster.
What do you want me to do? You want me to give you every breakdown? I think Will's going to catch and shoot.
I'm asking you. This is a lacrosse podcast. If you don't like lacrosse questions, we can talk about some other shit.
I thought I dissected 2 of the damn hard questions.
You answer my questions. Answer my questions. I'm asking you guys, this is my point, is if there was a roster that could give the Chaos trouble in the offseason, I feel like it's this particular offense. Now, here's my hang-up. I don't know if this Archers defense can hang with the Chaos offense.
Except for Hasek. I think Hasek knows how to play those guys because they
as a full team defense.
Right.
I think they have. Hasek's awesome. Their shorties can certainly be up. I don't know if they have all the weapons in place to stop this style of offense.
Sarah, would you say? Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say my other thing with the Archers is they have these games where they have such high highs and they're like riding this high horse and then all of a sudden just goes down. And like last game, I feel like we saw the best performance from their defensive midfield. Mm-hmm. And now everyone's expecting this like full team performance like we saw last weekend. But so many times throughout this regular season, it was like they were the best team in the league. It looked like definitely offensively at least. And then everything's coming together. And then like there would just be 2 or 3 weeks where it was like, lull, just wasn't all coming together.
Listen, Sarah, I agree with that. And I think, like you just said, thinking on it, I haven't seen a game where they had Tommy and Connor play at that high of a level together in this season. And I think that was obviously like the perfect storm. I hope it goes into next week. You know, we just had Tommy on. Tommy can win any matchup he wants. It's if Tommy's going to assert himself to do that, because sometimes he likes to facilitate, sometimes he likes to take over. Hopefully he takes over because we know what he does when he takes over. But right now, I just see, like you said, I think that was a perfect offensive game. I honestly think the last week they had was their perfect game they had. So
I'm going to get right to the point on this one. I'm going to agree with Sarah. I'm going Archers. I don't think the Chaos can reproduce the performance they just had. Not to saying it's not going to be a close game. I just think that the Chaos, they can't hold a team, especially this Archers, 3 goals again. Blaze, you can't expect him to make 83% of the saves. And I think just what Greg was outlining, and he was trying to make us go down the roster of who's going to cover who. The Archers just have too much firepower. If they play, selfless lacrosse, get the ball around the horn, swing it, switch fields, they're going to get a lot of opportunities. I think I'm going Archers. Scotty, you guys are so long-winded, I don't even know who you guys picked.
Well, we're analysts, okay. But no, I'm going with the Chaos because I just hate to, like Sarah said, I really do hate to pick against them because I feel like they listen to this and they go, screw that guy. So I'm not going to be one of the guys that say, screw you.
They thrive off it.
Thrive on it. So, but question for Sarah and Greg, what do you? I think the big X factor here is the face-off X, right? I think that it's an even.
There's no X at the face-off, by the way. It's a stripe. Face-off stripe.
I'm not going to call it a stripe, dude. Whatever. All right. So it's the stripe.
Call it an X.
Okay. So the stripe.
So
who's the guy here?
The stripe where the face-off happens.
Thank you.
I think, once again, Matty Palin's the wild card in this. He always is when it's Max Adler. If he lets Max do his thing and jiggle all the way up through the whistle, then he can hold his own against anybody. If he's calling it right, I think I give Ignacio the nod on this, but Ignacio he likes this kind of matchup where it's more of a tough, gritty, psychotic face-off position rather than a speed game. And I think he likes that situation. I'm going to give probably because Matty's not going to give a shit. So I think Chaos are probably going to go a little bit above 50%.
Sarah, don't worry. We can't get through an episode without, Matty Palin getting absolutely
without talking about what happened.
It's okay. Don't worry about it.
So yeah, I think it's this double-edged sword for me. This is a win-win. I'm going to pick the Archers because I really do want to see those guys get over the hump because I care a lot about them. And I just feel like Tommy Schreiber's like, dude, enough is enough. And I think he's just going to go ham. The second part about this is I am not going to pick the Chaos this entire playoffs, no matter what. Because if they keep winning and win the whole thing, I'm taking full credit for it.
No, you're not. You can't win here. No.
Yeah, I just won one.
You didn't choose
That's
a
one.
So Sarah's got the Archers. Danny's got the Archers. Beast has the Archers. Scott's got the Chaos. Lock that in. It's all good.
Lock it in. All right, we'll have to check back. Sarah, before we get to the next game, how have your picks been on this season? Have you been tracking your picks?
Oh, my bracket, aside from my championship pick, is screwed. I have the Water Dogs winning it all. I'll say that right now.
Okay.
but I had Chrome and then I had Redwood. So the rest of it's all screwed.
Well, the Water Dogs could be your saving grace here because I honestly think they are peaking at the right time. So you might have a little diamond in the rough there.
I know. So. I saw that PLL bracket challenge, and I was like, I've been so hot. I'm gonna take this home, and my Chrome.
Give me your money.
This is why I think what the Chaos said about them not caring about the regular season, like Sarah said, is real. Because this isn't the NBA where there's like 32 teams and it actually matters who you're playing and you get home field advantage and shit. You're like, all right, it's just one of the other 5 teams that we've played 3 times. Like, who gives a shit? We got to beat them anyway.
Right. I agree with that.
So the next game we have in our semifinals are the Whipsnakes, who are coming off a 3-week bye, technically, I think, and then versus Sarah's Water Dogs, who she has winning it all. We'll start with Sarah again, since you kind of just showed us her hand. I think we know who she's picking for this one. But Sarah, why do you think the Water Dogs are going to upset the Whipsnakes, who seem to always make the championship game no matter what?
Yeah, see, this is another one. I feel like I'm committing cardinal sin by not picking the Whipsnakes, given how much playoff experience they have. And they did knock the Water Dogs out of semifinals last year when they were the 1 seed. But my thing is, they saw each other twice in the regular season. Week 2, that Water Dogs team, they had the lead for the first 3 quarters against the Whips. You know, I think it was Jake Withers ended up getting injured right before the 4th quarter. Zach Courier had to take the face off, so that kind of limited him offensively and defensively because he is the best 2-way player. And now he can't do all that. Mm-hmm. But also at that point, I think the Water Dogs roster is still kind of finding their footing. Like, Kieran McCardle was sharing time on attack. He wasn't even playing full. I think it was with Ethan Walker and stuff. It wasn't until week 3 when Michael Sowers got injured and was out that he got that full time there.
That's a good point.
And they still took it to overtime. And then it was week 5, and the Water Dogs, I think, faced more injuries than anyone else this season. And even so, they still were able to, they had Dylan Ward back, but they were the only team to hand the Whipsnakes a loss. And also, they get better each week. I think Andy Copeland said it, each game, they've just been getting better. They just dropped 19 goals in a playoff game.
Well, that's a great point. Well, we talk about, the Canadian connection with the Chaos, right? And you want to talk about that international play Greg's been talking about and that experience and turning it on. Dylan Ward has that. Dylan Ward has that piece to him. And it's like playoffs, kind of like that playoff mentality. He's just a different goalie in the playoffs. And to be honest, Bernloy's great. I love Kyle. I think he's had the best regular season of all the goalies, to be honest. But 3 weeks off, right? 3 weeks off here. I don't know if that's great, but it's really hard for me to pick against the Whips just based on the veteran leadership they have, the coaching, and just being there. Just like the Chaos, they've been there. So I'm almost going to go the opposite here, guys. I'm going to choose kind of like that Atlas Water Dog game. I think it's going to be vice versa. I think it's going to be the Whips doing that to the Water Dogs because of that vet leadership and maybe taking the young guys in a high stress game.
Yeah, those are all good points, Scott. I think my hands are tied, by the way, because I've already picked the Whipsnakes to win the whole thing. Yeah, so I can't. Now, I would love for a Water Dogs Archers final because we haven't seen those 2 teams in the championship yet. I would love a new champion for the league's sake. Okay. Mm-hmm. But when you are looking at this is always something people ask, is it better to keep playing or is it better? I'm going to tell you from my experience, especially the second half of my year, Scott, the second half of my career, you want the rest.
No, you want the rest.
I would love the rest. Yeah, take the rest.
So are we worried about rust? Are we worried about the rust?
No. So besides, rust isn't the thing. Rust isn't really a thing. People, and look, trust me, if the Whipsnakes throw the ball away a couple times in the first quarter, holy shit, we're going to hear.
Don't worry, you're going to hear it from Stags. You're going to hear the halftime speech from Stags.
Oh my god!
Don't you worry.
Okay, but rust isn't really a thing in pro lacrosse because we always want to heal. We are always beat up. You have to remember, we are killing ourselves for about 24 to 48 hours a week. Okay, the rest of the week, guys are on the road. They're doing whatever other career they have. They're trying to stay in shape. Yeah, you definitely always take the rest. Now, this team is a veteran-laden team. Like you said, Sarah, actually, I think Withers got hurt early in that game. Did he? I think he only took 5 faceoffs. So you're right. They were managed to be in that game, and he only took a few draws. The second time around, they played against the rookie Tucci, who was like 35%. So this is the first time Withers will be healthy, hopefully, for an entire game. I think right now that, yes, the Water Dogs have everything in place to beat this team. But the Whips, year in and year out, week in and week out, well, I guarantee it, watch, the Water Dogs will come out early with a lead.
It's the only team, Greg, it's the only team in the league that makes adjustments at halftime for the positive. It's like two different teams.
Every week they do it. Every week.
They come in,
and
they
here's why.
Beat up.
Dags approaches this thing like a college coach would. He analyzed it like a college coach. But the other thing about it is Dunn, Bernlor, Rambo, the minds that they have on their offense and their defense, they make the adjustments themselves too. And when I look at the defense of the Water Dogs, when the game's on the line, Whip Snakes don't care. The Water Dogs, in my opinion, need to blow the doors off early. The Whips, they don't care. See you in the fourth quarter. It'll be fine.
Keep it close.
So, yeah,
keep it around 2 goals, 3 goals. The Whips are like, this is fine.
It's all good. I think the Whips still win this game, even though I would love for the Water Dogs to pull this off.
I would love it too.
I am going to side with Sarah and ride the Water Dogs. They saved me last week as my only win of the week.
How'd the Chrome go for you? How'd the Chrome go for you, big fella?
Listen, I love the Whip Snakes. Jesus. I love those guys on that team. We had Kirst on. I think they probably run the tightest ship out of any of the teams in this league. And I know you guys said you're not worried about the rust. I am worried about the rust. I'm a little bit worried.
We practice once a week anyway. We only practice once a week anyway. So it's like you come out Friday, you throw the ball around, you throw the ball away Friday night.
Not having a game situation, right? The Water Dogs just went through like such a high intensity game, right? They have it like the Whips haven't played a playoff game yet this year. I know that they have the experience, but I don't know, something just watching the way that the Water Dogs clicked last weekend, it makes it hard for me to pick against them.
You're picking with your heart, which is nice, but I'm picking with the facts. And the facts are it's hard to pick against the Whips in championships and playoffs.
Scotty, who are you picking in this game?
I got the Whips.
All right.
2-1-2
I need
here.
you. Holy shit. Oh my God. Guy's 30% on the season. He's just like the chaos. He has one good weekend, and we're never going to see the end of it. Holy shit!
I have a question, and Sarah might know the answer. I don't know. One of you two might know the answer, but why doesn't it get reseeded? Why aren't the Whips playing the chaos, the 1 versus 7? What's up with that?
I've given Paul and Mike credit before because they're obviously just not afraid to just change things up because the playoffs have been done differently every year so far. There's 2 things that I would love to see next year. One is the return to the draft bracket. I thought that was brilliant, and I thought it was awesome. That's what we should totally do. The second thing is, maybe not the entire league except one person makes the playoffs. But the third thing is, it's you're reseeding. Like, I was going to watch this and be like, dude, if the Chrome are playing the Whips in the second round or whatever, like it makes no sense. Like, what's the point in seeding?
Sarah works for the league. Why don't we let her put her input in?
Sarah's like, it was my idea. Sorry.
No, I agree. I would like to see them reseeded because also I think I just really don't want to see another Whips Chaos Championship. I'll be honest. I really don't.
It seemed like it's just like, hey, this is what it's going to be. Let's just get to the playoffs, right? Every year, let's just get to the playoffs, right? Why play the regular season? I know. But
it also, there's no point in like worrying about your seed. It gets to it like it's like, what's the point? And then as a fan, you're like, wait a minute, can we really see 1 versus 2 in the second round? Like, how did this happen? So I think reseeding would definitely be. And it's not like you're like, oh well, now we got to figure out what city they're going to play in. It's like they're all playing in the same city anyway. Just have these guys play at 3:00. So yeah.
So we have Sarah's pick for the championship. She has the Water Dogs winning it all. I think there's a good chance that they can get by the Whips. But before we let Sarah go, first off, thank you so much for coming on. I want to know, from your opinion, what was the biggest storyline of the regular season, and what is currently or what will be the biggest storyline of the playoffs?
Ooh, those are both good questions. Okay.
You're not as hungover as I thought, Dan. Good job.
I feel like right now the biggest storyline for the playoffs, at least like coming into this weekend, I think is the Archers getting over that hump. I think that's the biggest thing there because they do have the best offense in the league when they're clicking. And I think they have every making of a championship team. And like you said, a lot of those guys, like they have a lot of, I don't know who exactly all their free agents are, but I know they're similar to the Redwoods and they have a lot of change probably coming in that locker room. So I'd say that's my biggest storyline for the playoffs this year.
Would you say Kieran McCardle? I'm just going to.
I was going to say, I wrote the freaking story on Kieran McCardle, so I feel obligated to say that, but also now I feel like it's been talked about so much, like that's not the storyline.
Right. We could say Sowers is also having himself quite a little late season, I think. Okay. I think Sowers, right?
Yeah, I think Michael Sowers, like, I don't know, because it's not his rookie season, but he really has, like, that, like, the focal point of their offense last year was so much Ryan Brown, and Ryan Brown's been battling injury, and just that two-man game between McCardle and Sowers, and Sowers is a kid who really did not play at all last year. He's stepped up big time for that Water Dogs team.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen,
actually,
I think
a separate question, Sarah. Do you think that this past weekend cost Trevor the MVP? And if so, who else slides in that spot?
Tommy Schreiber.
I don't think it cost him the MVP. I think a lot, like, just looking at the regular season, like, the Atlas, there were so many games where it was like he kept them in it till the very last second. And it really kind of felt like towards, especially the second half, like later end of the season, the Atlas were just kind of like fizzling out, like something was going on there. But he, like, even because he had that bad injury, it looks like after the Chrome game, he really kept him in for the entire thing.
That was the correct answer. Well done. Yes.
Good job. You kept Greg Gaffey. Good.
Yes, my man. Yes, my man.
I love it.
Bye, bro.
No, I love it. We got our picks in. We're locking those in for this week. Make sure you follow along with our picks. Everyone, thank you so much, Sarah, for joining the podcast. We really appreciate you. We've been tuning into your articles all year. You're doing a lot for the league, and we really appreciate everything you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, follow Sarah too on Twitter. She's got some good stuff going, especially on game day.
We want to thank everyone for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed episode 9 of Rise Up the podcast. Make sure you're listening on Apple, Spotify. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you're watching this episode on the TorchPro YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button as well. We have one more episode next week, previewing the championship and recapping the games from this week in DC. And then we have our live episode in Philly. We're excited to come at you guys live. Make sure if you're down there, come check us out. Come say hi. But until next week, this was Rise Up the podcast.